Hi, and welcome everyone to our 32nd episode of The Little Inside. My name is Tobi, and this week I'm going to talk a little bit about the freedom to worry. So let's get started right after the intro. Don't worry. There's no need to worry. Don't worry. It's going to be fine. Don't you dare to worry. One or the other version, we might have used it many times in our life to tell another person not to worry, right? It's a very natural thing. When you see someone worrying, kind of out of a good spirit, we would like to tell that person, hey, don't worry, it's fine, you don't need to worry. Because we know that worrying about something is feeling stressful, it's not feeling pleasant, and so we don't want the other person to be in this unpleasant state, which is quite kind. However, I've come to think about this a little bit. We are driving in the car every day, my wife and me, Pan and me, and Pan very often is worried about the other cars around our car, the motorbikes. You know, the traffic in Phuket, in Thailand, can be quite dangerous, and so she is always alert. Even sometimes, even though she's not driving, she's stepping on the brake. So there's this kind of worrying going on, and my usual reaction before was always to say to her, "Don't worry, it's fine. See, nothing happened. Stop worrying. Why are you worrying so much always?" Like this. So I constantly told her not to worry. And after a while, it kind of struck me that what I'm doing is I'm taking away a certain freedom from her. I'm being restrictive, in a way even aggressive. I don't allow her to experience what she's experiencing right now. And that worrying thing never really went away. I could tell her many times, don't worry. And actually what that did is it added an additional layer of guilt and stress in her life. Then she would worry, and now she would also feel that she actually should not worry because I was constantly telling her not to worry. And so she was worried that I am worrying about her, that she should not worry. Right? So that didn't help her not to worry at all. And one day I just recognized this pattern, so that I constantly tell her, don't worry. And I felt, wow, I'm not allowing her to be herself. So I decided to stop to tell her, don't worry, and see what happens. So I just gave her the freedom to worry, and just to kind of cement that into my own mind, to give her that freedom, I would also say that every single time when I found her worry, I told her, all right, it's okay to worry. You are totally free to worry. You can worry as much as you want. So I would always say that to kind of counteract my own resistance to her experience. And after a while, I dropped that too. And I just allowed her the space to be herself and to worry about it. And you know what happened? The worrying kind of faded into the background more and more. And now it's very rarely only that she worries. It has gotten down so much more. And I didn't do anything. So I found that a strange thing to observe, actually. Another story that comes to mind was actually the story of my mom. She passed away last year in January 2016. And so when I spent my time with her at her side when she was in her deathbed and held her hand, I was experiencing this huge resistance against her condition. She had cancer, and I felt really strongly, oh, that shouldn't have happened. She's young. She was 56. She's young, and she shouldn't die yet. She was on the way to move to Ireland, and and all her stuff was already moved over there, and she was about to move. There was one of her dreams to really start a new life there and so forth. She was really looking forward to this, and then that happened. And also there were lots of unresolved issues that I had with my mom from my childhood and so forth. And there was this constant urge while I was sitting with her, was this constant urge for her to talk with me, for her to open up to me. And at some point I was talking with my father about some of the episodes when my mom was angry at me during our earlier life together. And what he said really was amazing. He said this one thing. He said, well, your mom is allowed to be angry, isn't she? It's a very simple thing to say. Well, she's allowed to be angry, but at this time it really hit home with me. And it showed me that this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm not allowing her, mentally in my mind, I'm not allowing her to be where she is right now, to experience what she experiences right now. There's this inner resistance towards her anger, towards her illness. I'm resisting this. And so I brought mindfulness into the process. I brought an awareness into the process. And I sat down with her and held her hand just like I did before. Just sitting quietly with her, holding her hand. And then allowing myself to feel miserable about the situation. Feeling miserable that my mom was about to pass away. Feeling absolutely helpless. And what I did, I surrendered to that. I allowed myself to feel the pain that I was feeling. And what that did, it helped my mom, even though I didn't say anything or I didn't do anything to her. No healing techniques, no radiating light, no stuff like that, nothing. Just allowing myself to be with my pain, thereby also allowing my mom to be with her pain. And what happened is she opened up. She started to talk with me. And then I could open up. Because all the time while I was focused on her need to open up to me, I wasn't realizing just how closed my own heart was. And so sometimes in life, these kind of processes that we go through, the death of a loved one, or horrific incidents that happen all around us, they can, if you engage them with mindfulness and gentle attention, if you're giving yourself some space to feel what you feel, magic happens. I've noticed that every single time, that if you're allowing someone to fully be themselves with all their neurotic tendencies and habits, and if you're allowing yourself to be who you are, fully accepting yourself, I'll consider that a form of forgiveness. You're not approaching yourself anymore with a scalpel, with a scissor, trying to cut away bits and pieces of yourself so you can be more yourself. Often having this kind of ideal image of who we should be or how we should be like. Should always be happy, I should always smile, I should always feel great, I shouldn't be fearful, that is a silly kind of fear, why am I feeling fearful of that? Instead I've learned, and it took me a long time, I've learned that it helps a great deal to patiently just wait and to be there with what I feel quietly, while realizing, and that is a thought process as well, while realizing that it is normal. It is human to feel pain, to feel worry, to feel fear. And by allowing myself to go through all these processes, I open up more and more towards others, and I allow them to go through their process. And what that does, I found, it helps others to heal. You're not there with advice. You're not there directly kind of shushing their worries. Don't worry. Hey, don't you worry. Don't you feel sad. Come, let me wipe away those tears. Come on, let me get you out of this situation. It feels so noble. It feels so good. I totally understand. And I've been doing it all the time. Constantly kind of putting a nice blanket on top of the way it is. They're trying to get rid of these uncomfortable situations that we're in, that we're constantly facing as human beings. But don't you think that all of these experiences that we go through have their place, that they have their cause? Would you not agree that worrying about worrying doesn't solve the problem? So I kind of want to leave it at this and end this episode right here. And it's kind of food for thought, food for reflection. Hopefully helping you to see through some of your own patterns where you are not allowing yourself to be yourself, where you're resisting yourself and creating a whole layer of suffering on top of the suffering that is already there. And I hope to help maybe some of you to allow, to accept, to receive, and to relax with being a human being with the whole range of human emotions, and to learn from each one that you're going through by just paying attention, just listening to it. So, as usual, if you have any questions or comments about this episode, feel free to just write them down in the comment section below. I'm always happy to read some of your comments and questions. And after all, these little insights are always inspired by your questions and by what we do here. And well, for now, I wish you a wonderful next week. Look forward to see you again next Wednesday with the 33rd episode.